I liked our crew out there. I was impressed. Our group, by the way, did a ton of sharing right off the bat, and it was fantastic. Definitely, we came away with a real distinct difference of how curiosity has this opening up effect and how correction has a closing down effect. And it had our our group had really good instinct around and I sense that the larger group is experiencing it that way, that this curiosity idea is beautifully orthodox. It's beautifully respectful. It's beautifully like the journey into the other person's inner world. And as I had quoted Gottman, he talks about getting into the inner world of our partner. And so very often we see the behavior of our partner that we react to, and then that shuts it down because then we correct it and we miss their whole inner world. And so sometimes the troubling behavior is a signal that something is troubling in the inner life. And this curiosity is going to be that key, rather than pounding on them around correction and we don't like it and they shouldn't have that tone and all this kind of stuff that we legitimately don't like a certain behavior. But with no curiosity, we're just left to judge the behavior. Mm-hmm. And behind the behavior is a beating heart. Behind the behavior is a person. And usually behind a behavior that's kind of dicey is a struggling person. And so this idea of curiosity, again, the key that unlocks those doors that shut us out through that behavior, and something opens up when we're curious and we insist on seeking out the person behind the behavior. So I really like the fact that just starting our series, that we're spending a little time on this idea of curiosity. Mm-hmm. Father Timothy, what are your thoughts?
Well, first, we did this a year ago and we had, over 200 couples, and that was phenomenal. We have a great number of couples, but I was thrilled to be in the breakout room with a lot of clergy couples.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was really, really, really awesome. And I'm very, very excited that they're a part of this. And, the thing that came to my mind in terms of curiosity, as opposed to correction, is the when Christ met the woman at the well, and he knew obviously her history, and he didn't just come out and start correcting her for the way that she had lived her life, but he expressed a lot of curiosity and had a dialogue with her. And as he was doing that, he was drawing her in a very compassionate, loving way. And so we know that at the end of that conversation, it had already transformed her heart. And so she went into the village and she told all the people, come and see this man who's told me, all things about my life and so forth. And they all came out. And what it did was it created a multitude of disciples, And I think that in that example of our Lord, by that dialogue he had with Saint Fotini, that it's such a beautiful example of what curiosity, listening, and dialogue can accomplish in our relationships. And so we have a beautiful example in our Lord himself. So that's the thing that came to my mind as we were talking about this particular question.
Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing. And now I'm going to hand it just over to George for your closing thoughts.
All righty. Thank you, Johanna. And really delighted that I just like the way, the flow is going. I sense a real nice eagerness among the couples. I want to share just in closing. First of all, what's beautiful is we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. You guys get to have your experience with all this. And hopefully this has been helpful information, kind of stimulating toward where we're headed. But when you kind of open the book, 8 dates, and open the book of your own hearts on your dates with your spouse, that's the powerful opportunity. So we're really excited about that. Encourage that you follow through with that. Just a couple closing thoughts, simply to say, and I've shared this little mini story with a few of you, but some years ago, a good buddy of mine is a firefighter, and he needed a sub on his firefighter softball team. So I played an evening of softball against this opposing team, and they probably assumed I was a firefighter because I'm among all these firefighters, whatever. And it turned out we played a church team, So here's this firefighter team playing this church team. And I was kind of incognito, like they didn't know that I went to church or worked in churches or anything like that. I'm just like this quasi firefighter anonymous team playing this church team. And something happened during that night that I've never forgotten. And this is probably 15, 20 years ago. And that was that the church team, they had a lot of camaraderie. They seemed to be like, close to one another. But they couldn't field a ground ball to save their life. Their skill level was awful. And after a while, as we're just kind of making connection, getting base hits and getting doubles and scoring runs, after a little while, their lack of skill started to show more and more. And then the joy of this Christian team started to wane, and they started behaving much differently. And it even got to where they were so frustrated because things are going so poorly. They're dropping F-bombs, all kinds of things. And I'm just kind of here going, wow, yikes. This church team is really, I don't know, showing their true colors or whatever. And I never forgot that. And so why do I share that little story? Is because as Christian couples, we joined a good team. We joined probably a fantastic team. Being in the church and having a spouse that's of the faith, fantastic team to join. But I don't want us to mix up that it means you know how to field ground balls or that you know how to hit a curveball. So I want to talk about two things that are meant to occur in our relation that make a healthy relationship. One is this like deep commitment to caring and loving our partner, but the other dimension is skill. And on our wedding day, the caring, without a doubt, would be like through the roof, through the dome, absolutely sky high. Lots of caring happening at the start of our relationships. But where was our skill level? That's a variable. So sometimes as Christian couples, we assume that because we have a lot of caring, the skills just automatically happen. And so there was a research sort of paradigm I saw years ago where it put it on a scale that every relationship has a caring quadrant and a skill quadrant, to where you could put all couples somewhere. You could have high caring and low skill. Where do they end up? They end up high caring, low skill ends up in a lot of misunderstanding. Or you could have low caring, high skill, and that is a manipulative relationship. Let me just figure out what I'm supposed to do. I don't have to care. I'll just say the right stuff. That's manipulation. Low caring, high skill. Or you could have low skill, low caring, and that's an abusive relationship. And where we want to head with every bit of what we're going to be doing with one another, with all the content, is that we're shooting for high caring, high skill. Your commitment to read every chapter, your commitment to really think about the questions and all that. You're working on your skill. You're working on your fielding of your ground balls. You're working on if you're going to hit a curveball or not. I do want to say this, and in my practice working with couples all these years, very often what I find is I work with couples who started out high caring and so-so skill. And if they stay in the so-so skill long enough, they end up being low skill, low caring. If we don't work on our skills, it chips away at how we feel. It chips away. We turn away. We start giving up. We settle for this and that. We get occupied somewhere else. So I just want us to take kind of a holistic inventory of where's my caring level and where's my skill level. And we have opportunity just honestly with one another through every discussion where we need to be learning and how we become a better listener, or how we approach, how we deal with our bodies and our affection for one another. All the things that we just don't know how to talk about it, don't know how to fix on our own. We'll be building our skill level of approaching this face-to-face heart to heart. So that's a few closing remarks. Thank you for your attention.